Hello, and thank you for joining us today in our study of the book of Psalms. Today we are in Psalm 70. And as we come into this psalm, we've had a couple of psalms in a row that have been rather lengthy, and this one is exactly the opposite. It's only 5 verses in length, and it's about a quick request for help. And it's one of those things that is important for us to remember is that all the times when we reach out to God and all of the circumstances in which we do it aren't going to be the same. And because of that, there will be times for the long drawn out prayers and discussions and things of that nature. And there's times when we just need help quickly. And that's what we find in Psalm 70. Let's notice these 5 verses. Beginning in verse 1, we read, Make haste, O God, to deliver me. Make haste to help me, O Lord. Let them be ashamed and confounded who seek my life. Let them be turned back and confused who desire my hurt. Let them be turned back because of their shame who say, Aha, aha. Let all those who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. And let those who love your salvation say continually, Let God be magnified. But I am poor and needy. Make haste to me, O God. You are my help and my deliverer. O Lord, do not delay. We don't know exactly what the circumstances are that cause this particular psalm to come about. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who the adversaries are. We don't know any of those things when it comes to this psalm that David writes. And yet at the same time, there are some things that we do know. And we see them here in verses 2 and 3 especially. That there are those who are seeking his life. There are those who desire his hurt. There are also those, as he talks about, that are going about saying, Aha, aha. Now, this is kind of that mocking phraseology of what somebody would say when they're trying to catch somebody, to slip them up in something. And the idea is almost a mocking sentiment of, I've caught you, or I've got you. And if you have those that are, as David does, seeking your life, or if you have those that are desiring your hurt, this would be the sense of we have him trapped. We are going to win because we are stronger than he is. And so you get this sense of the peril and of the danger and of uh, the frustration that David is going through on this occasion. And yet, even in the midst of all of that, you have the statement that is made in verse 4, where David says, Let all those who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. Even in the midst of all of these things, David says, Let all of those who seek you rejoice. Oftentimes when we find ourselves in difficult situations where people have turned against us, where people are mistreating us or seeking our hurt, the last thing we want to do is rejoice. And yet, that's what David says here. David says we are to rejoice not in the circumstances and not in what people are doing, but rejoice that we have God. James would talk about in James chapter 1 the importance of counting it all joy when you fall into different trials or troubles, knowing that the trying of your faith works patience. Here we have a situation where David reminds us that even under dire circumstances and even in difficult situations, we need to be those who rejoice and are glad because we don't have to deal with them by ourselves. We're not alone. We have God on our side. And we have God that we can turn to and that we can lean on in how we deal with those situations. And so even as he calls upon God to help, he shows this level of gratitude. And even though he needs God's help right now, he says, let God be magnified. Verse 5. Let God be held up, or rather the end of verse 4. So we need to be those who recognize that yes, there are going to be those who are going to mistreat us, who are going to seek harm for us, who are going to hurt us. But in those circumstances, we aren't alone. And we don't have to face things alone. We can rejoice and be glad because God is on our side if we're seeking to do what is right. These are the things that I see in Psalm 70. I hope they're beneficial to you. Next time, we'll come back and we will begin looking at Psalm 71. I hope you'll join us then. But until then, have a great day.